We are rolling. We are live. Therapy Without a Degree chapter. Maybe we're finally in the 300s. Maybe not. Who the fuck knows? So you guys already know Jersey Media, Joe Fucarino. We are here live. We got PPG Javi in the building over there. We got Desiree on the camera. All right. Then we got a very special guest in the building. What's up, bro? We got
What's up, bro?
Brian Abarca.
How you doing?
Good, man. You back? You ready for round two?
Hell yeah, I'm back.
Yo, hold on. Where you're really back from is where the hell were you just now? You were like gone. This guy was in the middle of nowhere for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, actually, I just came back from Poland. I was doing some tactical training there.
What made you choose Poland?
Well, it wasn't really a choice of where, but it was a decision I made so that I can just add another skill to my toolbox, you know? I decided to get a gun permit. Now I have a concealed carry. And me being even more responsible was just like, you know what? I should be able to handle responsibility in your hands more efficiently, or the most efficient as possible. So why not get trained by ex-CIA, ex-MI6, ex all of them?
Yo,
you know, so
I had a feeling it was for that reason.
Yeah, so I mean, with that, now I can say I came back and I'm just like, you know what? I have a lot of responsibility now that I have responsibility in my hand. And now I could handle it properly if, God forbid, something happens to me, my family, etc.
Yo, I saw that shit, and at first I thought it was cool as fuck. So I was like, yo, we just gotta go. I just want to talk to you about it. I was like, we gotta just get you on here so we can talk about it. It should look cool as hell. But I laughed for a second because I was like, I know Brian just did this for fun.
Everything.
I was like,
everything I do is for a purpose. You know what's hilarious?
Nah, you were like, you know what? That you probably saw it on Instagram. This was my envisioning. You were probably just kicking back on your couch one night, hanging with the dog,
Right?
And you just were scrolling, and you were like, "Holy shit, that was cool as fuck."
Yeah.
Poland, how much is I could do that? Let me hit these people up and let me see if I could join. And you joined, and you just went and you had a good time.
No, what actually happened was that situation. But what's funny is that when I spoke to some of my clients and some family members, they were just like, "Why?" And they personally know me, so they actually asked me, "Brian, you're all about business. You're all about work. You work 7 days a week. You wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. How is this going to make you money?" And I'm like, "This is going to keep me alive." You know what I'm saying? What's ironic is, you know, years ago in other civilizations, they would train young men how to combat train, how to utilize bow and arrow, how to what else did the spears. But now nobody's training young men how to handle something properly for defense.
Yo, this dude looked like he was trying to become Batman.
Well, I mean, I already have the car. No.
That's what I'm saying. This guy was trying to become. I'm like, yo, he's either becoming Batman or something. I don't know. Nah, but okay. So now you know.
And you know, I've gone shooting in the past, and I thought I knew what I was doing. You know, the instructor was like, "Oh yeah, do this. Put your foot here. Put your finger here." And you just stand there, and you're just like, "Okay, do." But now I'm just kind of like, "All right, that's trash." Like, I'm able to maneuver. I know how to handle a rifle, a handgun, etc. So.
I want to know the whole thing.
And it was a whole week.
You got to tell me everything.
It was a whole week.
When you got there, what was the vibe?
There was a lot of successful men around me, because it was a private event, and there was a lot of competition, which I loved, and it was very challenging. You had to put yourself through a lot of physical training, adversity, etc.
It looked like
Because it's not hard.
Yeah, no.
I mean, it's not hard. It's like extremely difficult.
Yeah.
It's not just hard.
Yeah, I saw by the content you put up, I was like, I've been around you before, not excessive amount of time, but I was like, oh no, he looks like he's. And again, too, you train and you're fit and you do all. So I'm like, but it looked like they even put you to a little bit of work, and I was like, that's dope. It just looked like a fun fucking time.
Yeah, and it was a great networking opportunity. Met a lot of people all around the world, and I'm able to call all of them my brothers now.
So what was the time? I want to know when you woke up. What time was it? Like on some military shit, or
yeah,
what?
for real. Like
so
some people.
What's a day? What's a day like?
Some people thought that I was just on vacation. Like for me, there's nothing to do in Poland in a fucking training facility. So I woke up at 5:00 in the morning, 5:30, hit the gym. If I didn't hit the gym, I would wake up at 6. Get ready, had my boots right next to me, had my strap, had my belt, the whole nine, and shower, of course, and breakfast on the dot was like 7 a.m. and the bus is leaving at 8. No and ifs or buts.
Now, anything you do before the bus, is that up to you, or are they like
anything? I mean, you could fast if you want to fast. You could, do whatever the hell you
yeah,
want.
It wasn't
you
like,
have to be ready by 8 a.m. inside the bus. And, you do what you got to do. I can't really get into all of it, but I would get home by 10 p.m. I'd be fucking exhausted.
Damn, see,
and it's a 6 hour difference. So, like, my first 3 days, I tried to do some sales calls after. Bro, it got to a point where, like, I was like, bitch, do you want to buy this or not? Because I need to go to bed, honestly. It was like that.
Yeah, because the time difference, and that's a long-ass day. 8 to 10?
Yeah. Every single day.
Out of that, how much of it was like sit down class type of thing versus in the field?
Maybe less than 10%, to be honest.
Of like in class.
Right.
Like.
I mean, safety was the most important thing, was priority. So after that, then we got into the fun stuff, which was great.
How many, you said how long was it? 2 weeks?
No, it was a week.
A week?
Basically, yeah.
That's interesting.
Flew into Berlin, drove to Poland with some friends, and then drove back to Berlin, and then flew back.
Would you do it again?
Oh, hell yeah, definitely.
Is this something that you do often, or is this just like a one-time?
Joe, you know me. Like, once I have an idea in my head, I'm just like, all right, I'm going to do it. And I end up doing it. So I had the itch. I got the gun, and then it was perfect. The same day of my flight, I got approved for my concealed carry. And then right there and then, I was like, cool. I went shooting that day. Okay, cool. I practiced, flew to Berlin. And then it was efficient. It was great. And then some people stayed. They ended up going to different countries. And then I decided to go back to work because it was just, either this or work. That's it.
Yeah, you were right back to it.
Yeah.
How's work been, man? How's the gym? What we got going on over there?
Oh, dude, everything's great. Everything's phenomenal. I'm training mostly at a new facility, and it's and that's amazing. My clients are amazing. Everything's doing phenomenal. I believe while we were both working together on my podcast, I just started maybe online coaching, my online coaching program. That's been doing great. I almost combined both. I had the opportunity to combine both. And for some selective people, I'm doing it separately. Dude, I got into real estate now. I got an ATM business. I'm doing a bunch of shit.
Word. You're staying busy.
Busy, yeah.
What I want to know, man, at least on the training side and kind of back to a little bit what you were doing over there in Poland.
Yeah.
How is that for you on like the mental health side of things? Is that like an escape? Was that like therapeutic for you? Is that just something fun or what?
Joe, that's a good question. So the best way I could describe it is the first thing that came into my head was competition. And since I'm always working, I'm always one-on-one with clients, and if I'm not doing that, I'm doing something else, and I'm always working. I don't surround myself with competition, and if I do, you know, like I'm with brothers or friends, business partners, and they're telling me they're doing X, Y, Z. So I'm like, oh shit, okay. But that's very, very selective. So the best way I could describe it is just competition. It was.
Does that help you? Is that like
Yeah,
something
definitely.
That,
I'm on my toes. You know, I met so many people, dude. When you're hanging out with multimillionaires and you feel like you're doing well at home, you start realizing it's a reality check. You're like, bro, I ain't still ain't shit. I'm gonna go back home and I'm gonna grind even harder. So it's a nice reality check, on top of, you know, the training with the guns.
do you think more people need those like reality checks?
Oh, definitely, because most people are stuck in a routine. And, you know, it's most people is including me. Like, I'm in a routine. I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I train. And then, you know, I go back home and I go to sleep. Or I do some more work. And that's pretty much it. That's me every day, 7 days a week. So I force myself to step out of my comfort zone. You know, and I just do something spontaneous. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to fucking go for it. You know, previous to that, I did a professional fight.
You know, did it. When was the fight? And it wasn't not too long ago.
It was September. Yeah. It was, at the end of September. And again, that was an itch. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. If I'm not going to do it now, I'm never going to do it. And I've been telling my clients and I've been telling, you know, friends in my network, dude, I'm going to do this. And, you know, clients keep you accountable, which is great. And then my brothers keep me accountable. They're like, dude, when's this fight? And I'm like, fuck. That day I called my coach. I'm like, listen, we're going to train 7 days a week. Are you in, you're out? Because if you're out, I'm going to hire someone out. Right now, I'm in this mindset. Like, I need to do it.
Yeah.
I bought it, paid in full, boom, 7 days a week, training, fight camp. Six weeks, I lost like 26 pounds for my fight.
Yeah, no, and you fought, you were looking good, you put in work. Now, like, for you, do you think, like, setting those things, like those little bouts of, like, competition, does that just help you keep you moving forward? If you didn't do it, do you feel like you would maybe be stagnant?
Yeah, man. It's, you know, experiences make you stronger because with experiences, obstacles are included. You know what I mean? And once you're exposed to obstacles, then you start realizing that you can overcome a lot more things than before. You know what I mean? And, you know, if you're comfortable, you're not growing. So that was my chance to grow.
When do you feel like you learned that?
When my grandfather passed away. You know, I shared the story before. You know, my grandparents raised me. When my dad technically died, my whole family was just kind of like looking to me for guidance, for leadership, and for responsibility. So all of a sudden, I'm like, all right, there's no chance there's no opportunity for me to fail. I gotta keep evolving. Let's say. So it was a blessing in disguise having my father die.
What do you say to people that don't have that? Because I feel like there's a lot of, like, you know, you hear the stories of the individuals like yourself, and, you know, the few other people, like, you know, I know a few of them, like, you know, survivors, the road dogs, like the ones that just had to be there and hold down a lot of things, and, you know, helps them push through. Sometimes you hear the opposite. A lot of times the pressure breaks people, right? And a lot of people don't end up moving forward. But what do you tell the person, man, that's just like, they don't really, maybe they're like an 18-year-old kid or something. They don't really gotta, like, have that pressure, right? Because they're just in that comfort zone of, like, life's not putting them through that fire yet, or life's not, like, setting them up to where they have to be the best they could be, or, like, have to be, like, maybe not even just like a hustler, but just try to strive for greatness in different areas. Like, what do you tell that person? Because maybe they know. Because I think like self-consciously we all know, like, I got to be a better person in this area. I got to be a better person in this area. But sometimes it's just not enough just to know, right? So what do you tell those people that maybe don't have those things, like, that fired you up to, you know, be the man you are today? What do you tell that 18-year-old kid?
I would tell that 18-year-old kid to find some brothers to keep you responsible. And by brothers, I mean friends. Not friends that, you know, are busy watching TV, that are not working, that are not thriving to get better. You need to surround yourself in that environment. Because if you're not in that environment, then you're not going to want to grow either. You know, if you're hanging out with friends who always want to go out every single weekend, every single night, you know, they want to watch TV, they want to be with their girlfriend, they want to, it's cupcake night. Like, no, you need to surround yourself with individuals who are better than you or who are trying to get better, and that's just going to rub off on you.
What do you tell them when they say, you know what, I don't need money, I don't need all that. I don't need to be successful.
Okay, then I'll ask them, what do you want? Do you want to be healthy? Do you want your family to be happy for you? Do you want any kids? Do you want a partner? Do you want to die alone? Because at the end of the day, it all trickles down to growing. You know, if you want all the things that I just mentioned, pop a kid, have a girlfriend or boyfriend if you're into that. If you want to make your family proud, if you want to do anything above, they are going to look up to you, or they're going to look at you and say, hey, are you succeeding, or are you growing? If you're not going to accept that or take that responsibility, then yeah, I mean, you don't want it enough. And if you don't want it enough, there's a lot of people that are in those shoes now. It's crazy. But at the end of the day, I mean, you know, when there's winners, there's always going to be losers. There's not going to be anything in the middle.
Yeah, everybody can't be a winner.
Right.
But I see that a lot, man. You see that a lot of times with just very average individuals, you know, where just like they're just okay with that, and you don't even, because they're surrounded by it. A lot of times, you know, I'm very big on, like you said, about the environments, about the people you're around, you know, your friends, and like, because that could like really mess with like your mental health as well too, and your ability to want more, because you don't even know what more looks like. You know, sometimes it's very like superficial, you know, like, and you know, we're kind of like spoiled around here, you know, like New York, Jersey, we see so much of it.
Why do you say that?
Because you could walk out your door and just see like, you know, nicer cars. Like I could walk out there and like a Corvette could just drive by, even though it ain't the best town in the world. But like, yo, you were in like Kentucky somewhere and you walk out your door. What odds are you seeing that? You know, I could go 2 miles down the road to one of the best malls in America.
Right.
Like, you know, I think we're spoiled in that aspect. So a lot of times we don't think about that person that's in like Kansas right now, in a random ass little city, that the most success they ever see is on their phone.
Right.
And that's even if their algorithm is showing them that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, again, we're New York, Jersey, us, tri-state, nice stuff. You see that. But like, that's not most of America. At least if we're talking about America. Who knows when you're talking about the world?
Well, I mean, let's play devil's advocate. You know, like, let me push up on that. So, you know, even if it's not America, let's say one of the poorest city in the world. I'm sure in that city there's gonna be a group of people that's the hierarchy, and they maybe have all the guns, all the food, etc. And there's always gonna be the losers, let's say, quote unquote, who do not have those things. You know what I'm saying? That's everywhere now.
Yeah, but you would want a lot of them to be able to aspire to want more. You know?
Right.
And that's just the tough part, where it's like sometimes it's so hard to get them to even want that, or to even think that it's like obtainable.
What do you think that results to?
Just a lot more average people.
Okay, and then with those average people, in their mindset, since we're talking about mindset, where does their mindset end up?
Being just numb.
Numb,
and just sitting in what they just feel like life is, just by circumstance.
You know, I saw a podcast. I do not remember who, or maybe I'm misquoting this, but I saw that someone mentioned that depression is for the what was the word? Depression is for the spoiled. Like, if you actually think about someone who's extremely poor, or who is an immigrant and trying to make a living at a different country for their family back home, you would think in their state, in their environment, you know, since they don't have anything to eat, etc., they would be depressed, but they're not. They're thriving for more. Only the depressed are, with that mindset of depression or depressed, they end up not realizing what they have. So in sense, they're almost spoiled.
I get what you're saying, and also sometimes selfish. You know, I've said it before as well too. You know, that sometimes it is a form of selfishness because you're not looking at the bigger picture. You know, a lot of times, and just a lot of adversity, we are just naturally selfish. You know, when we're going through it, and a lot of times we don't want to think about it, and you don't even want to like bring it up. Like, you know, I always try to look at the glass half full, but like when things, and I circle back from when you say depression, I go right to adversity. Because I think most of the time, adversity is usually what causes depression, in my perspective. You know, it's just different types of adversity that you go through. It causes depression. But the adversity, man, the perspectives, sometimes people are so just selfish with it. You know, like I went through something a couple months ago. You know, a lot of people know, and it's like, you know, in that moment, I had like an older, younger me would have been super, super depressed, would have fucked me up. But it's like, yo, you can't be selfish, because it's like, yo, what you're upset about is just your situation. You're not looking at the bigger picture. You know, you're not looking at all the different avenues. Like, people don't even think about that type of stuff. They always just think about how it affected them. Like, we have a mutual friend, their car got stolen. And they're bugging out, crying, this, that. But it's like, yo, you gotta remember that you're blessed, that you're alive. And then also too, like, yo, what if, God forbid, like, you don't know, you're selfish because you're upset, you're hurt about the situation, and you're not even thinking about them. What if this is a lesson that God sent out for that person to go through?
Right.
Not even you. Like, what if this person needs to steal that car to get caught, to be put in jail, and if it was never your car, if that would have never happened to you, they would have never been in jail. But we're selfish because we're just thinking about our fucking issue, our pain. We don't have the car, this, that.
Right.
They're not even thinking about anything else.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a good perspective. I never really thought about that. That maybe God was trying to give a lesson to the other person who,
and you had to be the sacrifice. You know, like, and there's so many moments where, you know, again, in our adversity, we are just only thinking about how we feel. You're not even looking at the bigger picture. And there's multiple sides, and there's multiple layers to everything. Like, how we feel is obviously important, and it should be validated. But sometimes it's like people take it too personal. You know? I don't know. Maybe I overthink shit.
Yeah, I mean, this is a sensitive climate, you know, in this environment now, you know.
100%.
2024, everything's feelings and who's hurting who. You know, what do you think about that?
It's very, very sensitive. It's very sensitive. It's tough because you want to definitely be there for people, but you also need sometimes people to wake up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it all goes based on how, obviously, you were basically perspective. It all goes based on your perspective over situations. You know, and who's to say, you know, one person's perspective is right and wrong, but, you know, it's all depends, man. It's very, very situational.
You know, I always think about when adversity happens to me, I kind of step back and I think, you know what? This is going to be a phenomenal story to tell in the next few weeks, few months, few years. Okay.
The story of
I just think about the story. Like, I just started applying that maybe in the last year. You know, something happened to me and I'm like, oh, shit. Oh, yeah, of course, the first 5 seconds suck. But then it's just like, you know what? It's going to be amazing once I share this story to someone, friends, family, brother, whoever, or on a podcast, and it's going to be like, wow.
Yeah, it's going to be transformational.
Yeah.
Because you're in that phase. I think you've been able to, like, kind of unlock that with yourself. Because now also, you know, we're getting older. And the one thing I say often is, like, now we're getting to the point where, like, we're having eras of our life.
Mm.
You know, like we're not 20 years old anymore. Now it's like, wow, like I'm 34. You've had you're being as a kid, you had your early 20s. Now it's like you get into your 30s. That's eras. So now for you, because the 20s was an era. This was this, and now you're just like, you know what? That's gonna be. He's just trying to live a little bit.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? Like now I'm thinking about like my legacy and my future kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm already thinking. I'm like, all right, like if I do XYZ, this could be for my kids. This could be for my grandkids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you asked me 5 years ago or 3 years ago, was I thinking about that? I wasn't. I was like, it's just me.
No, it's. I think it's
definitely eras.
It's the age.
Yeah.
It's the age and the eras. Because now we're, shit. Like I said, I'm 34. What do they consider an adult? 21 ish. What are they?
Well, legally, it's 18.
Yeah,
no?
it's 18. Yeah, but like, yo, I feel like it should be like 25.
For what?
Just
to be considered an adult?
Yeah, like, yo, you're 22. Sorry, I don't know. Man, I'm just talking shit.
You know what's crazy? When I share my age to people that are older than me, they're like, they still tell me, "Oh, you're a kid," and I'm like, I guess I'm always gonna be a
How
kid.
old are you again?
I'm 30.
You're 30.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think you're older too, though, for some reason.
Maybe it's the bald head and the beard.
Nah, it's the mature level.
Yeah.
It's mature. It's for a good reason. It's not, not for a bad reason, but
I've gotten that a lot. Even when I was 18, they were like, "Oh, bro, you're at least like 25." Gotten that. It's crazy. First year of training, it was crazy.
But yeah, 30 now. Oh, and you said you just started feeling like this the last couple of years. You're gonna really feel it soon.
Yeah, I feel like I'm feeling that 100%. Like
Yeah,
I feel like I'm in just.
But
in
still,
race.
just give it a little bit more because now you're 30. You start getting close to 40.
Yeah, I mean, I'm already thinking about family. I'm trying to find, well, I already have that special someone in my life, and I'm like, you know what, it's time.
Is that time?
Yeah.
Is that time?
Yeah.
Let them know. I need my gunshot. I need my soundboard.
It's time. It's time.
Nah, man. But yeah,
you know what's crazy? Since before we transition out of Poland, there was a lot of fathers there, and there was one father. I'm not gonna blow up his spot because it's a personal story, but he witnessed his second child pass away. And I was picking his brain because I was like, hey, when do you know you're ready to be a father? And he was like, before that first child, you feel like you're never going to be ready. But once you have that first child, you're like blessed. And all of a sudden you have 10 times more motivation because now you're taking care of that offspring. You're thinking about that offspring. Your biggest asset is that offspring. It's not anything else. And it's just like, holy shit. And then I'm like, I thought about myself and my life and my experience. And I'm like, I've always thought about, I always felt like I was in a corner and I need to just be like overcoming everything. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I just need to put myself in this corner, have a kid, and like I'm just going to 10 times my work ethic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what it does.
It's crazy. Yeah.
That's what you think you fired up now.
And then what's crazy is that all the fathers end up always saying, hey, you know what? I wish I started earlier. And I'm like, damn, fucking 30. I should have popped the kid when I was 18.
Hey, you never know, man. Some people are later. Like one of my mentors is Grant Cardone. I think he had his first kid at like 50 years old.
Yeah.
But it's all divine timing, man. I could definitely see Brian as a dad.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man.
But you 100% are going to go even harder.
Yeah,
100, like
I can see that.
100%.
Definitely.
Or I could see you also just being like putting everything in. I think you the way you would do it, you would be a lot more hands off. You would have everything in like autopilot, just so you could be there 24/7 for the kid.
Yeah, I don't think I would do that. I can't do that.
He's like, I can't be complete autopilot.
Yeah, no. It's not even that. I can't. I don't see myself, wiping ass all day. You know what I'm saying?
That's only the first couple of years.
But like that. That's where you know, the mother and the woman, you know, they're the most important. You know what I mean? Like, they're the ones needed the most, more than the father the first few years, no?
I don't know. They're both probably equal. In
You
their
think
own
it's
ways.
equal? How come?
It all depends on what you're doing, what you guys sign up for, what role you take on. You just never know. Like I actually heard one story the other day of someone right now too. A lot of people I know just had babies, so like I'm hearing literally a different story on how they're going to be like, you know, doing sleep patterns and all that. Every single person's different, so you never know. You never know. But what I kind of want to get into a little bit before I switch out, we're going to bring Desiree on over there. She looks like she looks like she got a lot of hot topics for Brian that she wants to get into. But
I feel the energy.
you feel it, right? Let's go. I want to know, you know, one thing kind of like lately it's been on my mind. I don't know why. It's about being intentional. You know, I mentioned that to you. You're like, what we're going to chop it up about. I was like, being intentional. Because it's like, yo, you know, I saw a quote. It said, like when it comes to like being wealthy, it was like, yo, if you don't try to be intentionally, like if you don't intentionally try to focus on your wealth, you may accidentally be broke. And I was like, you know, it's a real thing. And it kind of goes back a little bit to what we were just talking about. Like just some people just like going with emotions. They just live in. They're not really trying to like do much more. They're looking for this like fucking spark of inspiration.
Yeah.
And they're just not going to maybe get anywhere. And by doing that, you might really accidentally either broke or unhappy or whatever. And I'm like, yo, that just goes with so many different things. Like if you're not intentionally trying to become wealthy, like, yo, what are the chances of you actually doing it? You know, you probably know in, you know, health and fitness, if you're not intentionally trying to become, you know, more healthier, what are you going to be doing? You know? But I think people don't really think about that too often. They think about like setting goals and they think about, you know, where they want to get to. But it's like when I say like being intentional, like I'm curious to know, you know, like you have a routine. You already said 4:00 in the morning, I wake up. You know, it's like, what are these different things that, you know, each of us do to, again, be intentional, you know, to where it's like, yo, like if I want to become more successful or more wealthy, I'm going to intentionally watch a podcast to maybe learn more, or I'm going to intentionally try to become friends with someone that's successful. And shit just doesn't happen, you know, like it just doesn't like naturally happen. You have to actually really just, because I think that's what a lot of people think. I think a lot of people just think like, oh shit, you know, like, or like it's like without planning, you know, like I'm just going to go to the gym and you're just going to go to the gym. But were you intentional about it? You know, were you breaking down? Did you have a plan? Did you meet with a coach? Did you meet with a trainer?
Right.
Did you know what you're doing? Or are you just going with the flow and I'm just going to go?
Yeah.
You know, I think even with like being a father, like back to that, being a parent, like, are you intentionally trying to be the best father that you could be? Or are you just like, oh, I'm having a kid, you know? But are you like finding books on being the best dad? Are you, you know, listening to podcasts? Are you talking to, you know, friends? Like you're already having conversations, probably maybe not even on purpose, but your subconscious is having these conversations while you're away, probably prepping you for the future Brian.
Oh yeah, of course, definitely.
But that's
and I'm intentionally doing that.
You're intentionally doing that.
Right.
And you're still thinking about it because the fact that you even brought it up, because you're like, oh, let me bring that up because intentionally it's important to you.
Right. You know, the unintentional person out there, I believe they need to realize that it's not easy, but it's simple.
Explain that.
Well, think about it. It's not easy, but it's simple. It's not easy. Hence, there needs to be some type of work put in and output. But it's a very simple thing. There's a blueprint out there. You just have to follow all the steps 1 through 10. But people are not intentional, or they're not willing to put in the simple work, whether it's a little bit of work or a lot of work. People are just lazy.
For example, were you like, how do you train, you know, people like in the world of fitness? Because, you know, you have a lot of different aspects of yourself. But with something like that, that really comes to my mind of like you're helping people transform their bodies.
Yeah.
What are things that you try to set them to do like intentionally Is it like, wear your running shoes today? Or is it like, what are these little things that maybe they don't realize
Right.
that it's like small little steps to becoming what you end up helping them transform to be? Is it anything like that, or how do you go about that?
The first thing that came into mind was intentionally always trying to look good at work. Because if you look good, you feel good. So if you look good, meaning even like dressing well. So if I'm dressed well, even if I'm going to the gym, always wear nice, clean clothes, new clothes maybe, and doing that in front of my clients, unintentionally, all of a sudden, they're coming in the following week with nice new clothes. Because they're looking at their superior or their instructor or the leader inside the gym for 1 hour. Okay, he's always looking good. I always have to look good. He's always professional. I have to be professional. Another thing I always do is I end up having a chat with all of them throughout the day. Hey, how was your day today? Through my app. And they'll answer me. Okay. Unintentionally, they're thinking, okay, I'm just answering this question. But I'm intentionally in their head now. Okay, my trainer just asked me how my day was. Now I got to think about my day. Oh, shit. Okay, I actually need to meal prep. Maybe I need to hit the gym because I'm not seeing Brian, the booty doctor, today. Then, I have to take care of my kid and da-da-da. But intentionally, I'm putting that fit lifestyle into their head.
You're planting those seeds.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're doing that. Without you doing that.
Right.
Like, a lot of people don't even see that, too. Like, without you being, there's another quote, it's like, one man's obedience is connected to so many other people's destinies.
Right.
And it's like, that, to me, is such a real thing. Like, your obedience to be intentional is connected to so many other people that you don't even realize.
Right.
Because, like you said, that stuff really does matter. And it's like, it may sound silly, but you do have to be intentional. Like you said, even about the clothes. I did the same thing. Literally, I got to do laundry. I've been so busy, I haven't been able to do my laundry. You know what I did today? I went to Walmart just to buy these fucking pants for this podcast. Because I've learned, too, I had to do shit like that. Because if not, I'm going to be on the pod just wearing whatever. And that's cool. But it's like, and I had to pick up on that by even watching myself. And I'm like Javi knows probably the most. Like, sometimes I've been trying to, do better with it or whatever.
Right.
Like, okay, I'm on camera, be present, your presence and all that shit. Because normally I wouldn't give a shit. I would wear some.
Well, I mean, you knew that Brian was going to come too, and I was going to get dressed. Dressed to the
lines,
lines,
for you,
You're
I
like,
gotta
oh,
wear
shit,
the
I
suit.
gotta look good.
I gotta wear the suit. I actually didn't. That is funny. I didn't even think about that because if I was, probably would have had the suit on too.
No, bro. Listen, compared to the first time, you're like, okay, Brian came with the suit last time. He's definitely gonna come with the suit today. You know what? I'm gonna wear a t-shirt. I'm gonna at least wear some new slacks.
Nah, that
you know what I mean?
That would have been funny.
And the third time I come here, I'm probably gonna see you in a suit.
Oh yeah, that's it.
You know
what
I'm saying?
Number 3, I'm definitely coming in with the suit. And then watch, he's just gonna come in with the fucking Abarca fitness tee.
Yeah.
That's gonna be my luck.
But you know what's crazy? Just to add on to the topic that we were just having a conversation with. I thought of one. They always ask me, hey, do you have a long day? Because they know I wake up at XYZ at 4 a.m. and I have a whole day to train, right? And then they ask me, hey, did you get to work out today? And I work out 7 days a week. No matter the time, even if it's a half hour, I work out. 7 days a week, I work out, no rest days. So me by just saying, hey, I worked out today, and knowing that I have back-to-back clients, they're like, oh, shit, I can't fuck up with this guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just, you got to be a role model.
Yeah.
Intentionally. And then they'll just follow in your footsteps.
Hopefully.
Well, I mean, they will. Because, at the end of the day, they're paying top dollar
well, not even just them.
for accountability.
I'm just saying in general, to be like a role model in general.
Well, the best role model and the best leaders, they don't have to say anything. They just lead by example, no?
Yeah. And I'm a firm believer it does work. And it's crazy because I definitely second guess myself sometimes with that. Like, as much as I'm a firm believer, I sometimes am like, did I do enough? But then I have to circle back. Because sometimes I believe almost 100% of the time that what you do, like you said, your actions will speak much more louder than words. And being a role model, you'll be able to teach so much. And I've tested it throughout my life with Jaylene and with just even with friends and all this and that. A lot of times it works. A lot of times it doesn't. But I will say that times when it works, it works. and you'll see examples of it. And if people out there are listening to this and watching this and you haven't done it, just try. You know, like if you're in a relationship and, you want homie to start doing the dishes, you know what? Maybe you guys just start doing the dishes. You know what I mean? Maybe you got to do it. Maybe you got to be that example. Like, or if you want your partner to go to the gym, maybe you just got to start going to the gym. They might pick up on it.
Right.
But not everyone's like that, though. Not everyone will react to the role model. Not everyone.
You know, it's human beings are tribal. You know, you follow the tribe. And in a tribe, there's always a leader. You know, at the end of the day, there's always, DNA-wise, there's always a gene in there that's like, all right, follow the leader. So if you're the leader of the household and you're doing X, Y, Z, and you're doing everything phenomenally, they're going to follow.
I don't know.
I'm telling you.
Sometimes
they'll
revert.
Listen, if that person is a lazy fuck, then that's going to rub off. And your partner, who's supposed to be your follower, is going to be a lazy fuck as well. And maybe you're not even the leader. You're the follower. So then, if she's a lazy fuck, you're going to be a lazy fuck as well.
Daz, what do you think? Come on, take the hot seat. Oh. Take the hot seat. Sure. Brian's like,
let's do it. Let's do it.
He's
let's
like,
do it.
Let me get out of
Yes,
here.
Take a minute to readjust.
This is all you.
Thanks. Okay.
I feel like I'm getting set up, Joe.
Setup is crazy. Absolutely not. I am curious. I have some curiosity. So once I get myself set up, I'll indulge you with my curiosities. Okay. So first, I just wanted to know a little bit more about your martial arts background.
Cool.
I'm a first-degree black belt in Shotokan, so hearing that you fight and seeing your journey in Muay Thai was really a curiosity to me. Could you tell me a little bit about what got you started and motivated?
Sure. I mean, let's start from the beginning. I grew up being a wrestler. I wrestled as a child up to high school. Did I take it seriously some of the years? Not really. In high school, I was skipping practice just to be with the girls. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, high school.
And, yeah. But I do have a basis in wrestling. And when I ended up transitioning from wrestling to boxing, I was in my second year of personal training. And it wasn't because I was interested in boxing. It was actually because I wanted to make some money. Little background story. I was at a gym. I was a personal trainer. And my supervisor was a semi-pro boxer, right? And the role of a supervisor was to have the potential leader client feel exhausted through the assessment, which took like 10 minutes, and want training, right? That was like the psychological sale.
Yeah.
Anyways, what he would do was implement boxing. The top two trainers was a person who held mitts and myself, who was the booty doctor, right? I just grew glutes. That's it.
Okay.
Now, this supervisor will give all the clients to this boxer trainer, correct? Now, me being young, hungry, I told this supervisor, I was like, listen, rest in peace. I was like, bro, listen, I want to make some money. Please teach me how to get into mitts and get into boxing. So he took me under his wings. He was my mentor in boxing. Rest in peace. And I became decent in holding mitts, got into boxing. I did it for about 5 years up until I decided, you know what? I want to get into Muay Thai. Muay Thai could be phenomenal. I just moved to a new city. It would be a nice way to network, meet new people around my city. And I was like, I used to play soccer as well. So what's the difference? I was, I could box and I could play soccer. I could kick people. I was completely wrong. Muay Thai is completely different from boxing, different stance, etc. And I had to basically learn a new sport from scratch. And I've been doing Muay Thai for about 5 years now. And it's been great. It's been phenomenal. And just now I decided to do a fight recently, earlier this year. In between, the 5 years, I did a little bit of jiu-jitsu for a year. It's great. I have one stripe, still a white belt. But that was phenomenal as well. And I was very, very good in jiu-jitsu just because of my wrestling background. But that's basically my my
journey.
my experience,
pretty
my history,
dope.
my resume in fighting.
It sounds like you've always been a very active person.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think you attribute to that?
That's a good question. You know what it was? My grandfather, as I mentioned earlier, my grandparents raised me, and I was raised in Peru, even though I was born in the U.S. And my grandfather was always fit. He had all these muscles, and he would always make me play soccer. My uncle, who's like a second father to me, he was always muscular, and I looked up to these guys growing up. And I guess unconsciously, I was like, you know what? I kind of want to be like these role models. Like I mentioned with the conversation with Joe, you know, when there's actual role models or leaders in your tribe, and you know you spend enough time with them, you almost want to be like the leader. You almost want to mimic things, right? So that's how I got into, you know, fitness. You know, I was heartbroken in high school. My grandfather was diagnosed with prostate cancer around that time. I was a little depressed. So I turned to one of my friends. He already started working out. I weighed 130 pounds. I was a skinny kid. And I just fell in love with the stress relief of working out. So you would find me at the gym in high school for literally 3 or 4 hours. It was crazy. And then that plus eating a lot, you know, I gained like 60 pounds of muscle in a year. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. I definitely can relate to you on that whole like stress relief.
Yeah.
Especially when you do heavy workouts or extremely intense workouts.
Right.
There's a lot of people are like, no, you know, soft life, which I am a Pilates girly. I love to stretch. I love my yoga, but also there's a significant relief that comes with an intense workout.
Definitely.
That I think people in the martial arts industry, or even, you know, people who are power lifters can really connect to. Something that has interested me since you sat down with Joe was this concept of leader versus the rest of the group.
Right.
What do you think identifies or, you know, you talked a lot about like within our DNA, we kind of have this inherent need to be with a tribe and to follow a group. So how does a leader emerge?
And taking responsibility. You know, how does a leader emerge? Number one, taking responsibility. Number two, leading by example. You know, there's this meme out there of like almost like a pharaoh in a throne and almost like whipping like a bunch of slaves. And then there's like a title saying like a fake leader or a dictator, let's say. And then there's another image below having the leader almost picking up something with their tribe in the background. And he's just leading the people in the back, holding and helping whatever they're picking up. And I feel like, you know, you just lead by example, take responsibility, and always doing the right thing. You know, I think those three traits are essential.
Leading by example can be challenging, though, especially with life.
Yeah.
So how do you remain consistent in your vision? How do you make sure that that you show up as a leader or show up as the version of yourself that you want to be for other people, for yourself, for your family? What are some things that keep you grounded? What are some things that keep you consistent?
Keeping me consistent, keeping me grounded, almost keeping me motivated to stay a leader or become a leader, it would be, you know, putting yourself through obstacles, like intentionally, just like I spoke with Joe. You need to intentionally put yourself in situations that's uncomfortable. And then based on that, you end up becoming or coming out of this situation a better person, a better man, a better woman. And then right there and then, you just have another quality, another skill in the toolbox that maybe you can pass on to someone else. And, you know, I was never a vibe or energy type of person.
Okay.
But
What do you mean by that?
you know, when, especially, I think not many guys, there's more guys saying this, but not many guys say this. A lot of women say this. you know, the vibe, the energy. I didn't like the vibe of her or him. His energy is off, you know, energy, vibe, whatever's in the air. I never believed that. For example, for someone who's still not understanding, if someone enters a room full of people, their energy or vibe or their aura is either, okay, this guy has leadership qualities, knows how to dress. There's something about him that, you know, he carries himself very well and very confident. It's almost attractive. Or there's always that other person that comes into a room full of people who is very mute, shy, closes the door slightly, does not want to be seen, and is almost like invisible. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean by energy and vibe.
Okay.
And
But you're saying you don't believe in that.
I did not believe that.
Okay.
Now, recently, being around successful men in my network, in my friend group, that now I call brothers, there's always that energy around. And it's very, you know, you could catch it very easily.
It's palpable. You could touch it.
You could touch it, and it's very tangible.
Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for, and it's very contagious. You know, once you get a rub on that, pause the homo, you know, you end up almost
This
like
is a safe space.
yeah, you almost bring it to, let's say, your tribe,
Yeah.
and then the other people that follow you end up getting that. And then hopefully that could carry on.
It becomes a positive, contagious energy.
Yes.
Absolutely. I agree with
Right.
you. What would you say to men who struggle with depression, men who struggle with self-image? You talk a lot about brotherhood, and you talk a lot about your tribe. And it makes me wonder, how much of your success do you attribute to the men that you keep around you? And if there is a lot to attribute there, then what advice would you give to men who struggle with depression, who struggle with showing up for themselves?
That's a good question. So, yes, I speak a lot about brotherhood, and it contributes 100% to my success. You know, I needed to cut off a lot of friends who were not growing, and since that aura, that energy that we just spoke about is contagious, I wasn't growing. So I cut them off, and I searched and joined a network where this brotherhood is all about self-improvement and becoming the best version of yourself. And I cannot deny that ever since being in this brotherhood, let's say, I've doubled my money, I've doubled my confidence, I've tripled my skills, and you know, it's helped me grow so much that I can't wait to look back in a year and just say, wow, I've grown even more in this moment.
It's definitely it's true that people can hold you back, and it tends to be the people you love on the most, and that's a sad reality. You know, you make friends with people that you think you're gonna be with them for the rest of your life.
Right.
You think that you're gonna grow together and go through these beautiful moments together, and you realize along the journey these might not be your people forever.
Right.
And it can become a little heartbreaking. And you know, it's easy to make things sound very regimented, you know, like you do this, this, and this, and you make sure that you do it, it gets done, and that's it. But we're human, we're not robots, right? And so it's important for us to be able to kind of check in with ourselves when we're not at our best. You're also not a robot. So when you are having those self-limiting thoughts, when you don't want to show up for yourself at 4 o'clock in the morning, what are the things that get you past that hump? I
rely on The people that rely on me.
Can you tell me more?
Of course. So when I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and trust me, there's days I don't feel like waking up, I think about my clients who rely on me. I have a lot of responsibility because in my head, in the back of my head, I know they pay top dollar for me, so I need to be 100%. I need to show up for them. That's number one. I think about work. Number two, I think about my family. I think about my mother and my grandmother who live alone, and I need to take care of them. Why? Because my grandfather's not around. All right? And I purposely put work number one because without number one, I can't take care of number two. You know, so my clients are my top priority. And I think about them, and that's going to just get me through my day.
Yeah, because if you don't show up for them, then everything else kind of crumbles.
Exactly.
But, you know, you do mention that work is your number one priority.
Right.
And you also mentioned that you have a lovely love interest. So how do you look for the balance in that? Because she is not your replica. She may be compatible to you.
Right.
But she's not your exact replica.
Correct.
So in those moments of I'm obsessed with work, I'm here, I'm focused, I'm here. And baby girl's like, but babe, I want to go have a dinner night.
Right.
Y'all, I got deadlines to meet.
Yeah.
How do you make sure that you are finding a balance in between work and everything else?
So the flex answer would be, well, you know, I'm my own boss and I have a very flexible schedule and I have multiple businesses and I have systems in play, so I could do this whenever I want. But the reality is, and I live by this, you shouldn't work smarter and not harder. I believe you should work both. You should work smarter and work harder. Okay? Let me elaborate. So most people's goals is to have systems in place so they could free up their time, and then with their free time, they could scratch their ass and do whatever they want.
Right, do nothing.
Right. What I've done, and I believe that part of this brotherhood that I joined gave me this idea was, if I work hard, it's going to free up more time. And if I have more time, I could still work hard. So then I have triple the income. And then I could still take care of my girlfriend, my family, etc. Now, to answer your question, how do I balance my love life and my work life? It's very simple. You know, I have communication with her. I tell this person, listen, I am working and this work pays your bills. And I know it's not difficult, but this is for our future. And this is for our future family. You know, now this person may or may have not been in my life for about 7 years. And if you ask me, the first 5 years were difficult, fuck yeah.
Right.
Okay? Just because I'm surrounded by beautiful women all the time. And they call me the booty doctor. And I completely understand that if I am around beautiful women and I'm growing their asses, I'm going to be close to them physically.
Yeah.
Right?
You're a trainer. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now we have the stigma where trainers ain't shit and they're players.
And they're fucking their clients all the time.
Right. Now, since I've been in business for 13 years, okay, I have a reputation to withhold. Now, most guys take their training profession like a job and not as a career. Let me elaborate on that. A job is, I'm going to work at CVS,
like
but not with the
gig.
intention of I'm going to own all CVS's.
Right.
It's a temporary job. I don't really give a shit. If I fuck the supervisor, it is what it is.
Right.
If I get caught, it is what it is. If I
Right.
get fired,
I don't
cool,
care. Who
I'll move on.
cares? Right.
A career is, this is a reputation. I have a name and a brand to maintain and continue and grow. So I cannot do XYZ with X client.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I'm going to lose everything.
Well, I also think it's about integrity, you know, we could take gender out of it. If one person loves another person, you should be treating that person with integrity regardless of the situation that you're in.
Right.
You know, I know quite a few personal trainers and I've heard quite a few stories, and everyone decides what they want to do out of their life. But I think that what actually matters is the integrity behind your actions. If you can be the number one fighter in the East Coast, but if you're a piece of shit, what does that matter? You can be a billionaire, you can have multiple estates all over the country, all over the world, but if you're an abusive man towards your wife, if your children are fearful of you, then what does it matter?
Right.
So, I do think it's important, what you say, you have to maintain what you have. You have to uphold what you have. You have to navigate things with integrity, with a sense of integrity, because it's who you are. Like everything that you have produced has come together to create literally who you are. All of your experiences, all of your decisions, for better or worse.
Right.
And ultimately, as humans, that's all we can do is make decisions, see what the response is, and adjust. It may not always be easy. Most of the time, it's not easy. It's very uncomfortable.
Right.
But if growth is the goal, then you have to make sure you're always moving with your best interest in mind so that you can then pay it forward to others.
Correct.
I absolutely agree. I think that success is not always the easiest thing. It will never be easy.
Well, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Everyone would be successful. Everyone
Right.
would be the leader.
Correct.
I do think that it's important to recognize that we are human, and as humans, we're going to have certain deficiencies. And until we're able to be self-reflective, we're not able to bring those deficiencies to light.
Right.
And we can work on them.
Correct.
But I think that you play a major influence in ensuring that men have some sort of navigation. I hope that men from this podcast, from this episode in particular, I hope that they reach out to you and they ask you for next steps. I hope that they look for your support group, and I hope that they recognize that it does in fact take a village to not only to raise a family, but to build anything around you.
Right.
So please reach out, because hello, dropping gems here. Hello.
Right.
But I wanted to thank you for sitting down with me, because at first I was hearing you chatting and I was like, oh, all right, we're going to have to get. But once I brought it all the way down, I was able to kind of just like enjoy your perspective for exactly what it is. You have built something really beautiful for yourself.
I appreciate it.
And I think that I hope and believe that other men will follow in that and look for that. It's necessary. We need it. The men need it.
I appreciate it. Definitely.
Our guys need it. Our
Right.
guys need it.
They're getting soft.
Hey, soft is not bad. Don't get me.
Right.
Don't get me.
They're getting-
Don't get
they're
me
getting
started.
They're getting
Don't get
soft.
me started.
Well, I mean, let me just pick your brain. Do you do you think men nowadays are better than men back in the day?
When's back in the day?
Before 2024. Even better, before 2000.
Here's what I'll say. I think that the increase of awareness has positive and negative effects. We need, as a species, to evolve. And we have evolved past physical labors. Now, the next step is to become more sentient. In order for us to become a little bit more aware so that we can continue building, we have to be more self-aware. The more you pick at the wound, the deeper you go.
Right.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that the wound's going to heal right away. It's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt, and you're going to feel that. And if you don't allow yourself to feel it, you can't assess it. You can't work on it. You can't rehab it. Nothing. It stays the same. And years and years and years pass by, and it's the same issue. So have people gotten softer? Yes.
No. I did
Men
not say
specifically,
people.
I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Have men gotten softer? Yes. Women also have gotten softer.
You think so?
Yes.
Ever since the 1960s?
Since
Oh
the
man,
60s.
we got
That's what
Joe.
I'm saying.
Oh man, hold up.
That's what I'm saying, because
Hold
we
on.
could really chat. What I'll say is this. I do believe that as an entire species, we have gotten softer. What up, Joe? How you doing? I do think that as an entire species, we have gotten softer. I think that the benefit of that is that we are becoming significantly more self-aware. We're starting to figure out what issues are within communities. We're thinking bigger now because there is an energy. There is a wanting to maintain community. With hate, with petty bullshit, with bullying, guys love to shit on each other. Guys, that is their favorite way to play around with each other. I'm a teacher. The boys, that is their oh, you fat piece of shit, but that's their number one go-to. Nigga,
Right.
you gay as hell. That's their number one go-to.
Right. You don't think that's good?
Good for what? Good for what? For who? For who involved is that good?
For the victim.
No,
Why not?
because there are other ways to build character.
Like what?
You build character by yourself. You build character by getting yourself out there, by cultivating leadership, not by being shitted on by your boys.
Right.
The number of times I've had to be like, that's your friend, and that's how he talks to you. Pick
Right.
better friends. And it's an ongoing issue.
Now let me expose something. So in my brotherhood, okay, there is bullying, and that's how men keep other men accountable. Point blank. Period. This is coming from a man.
Okay.
That's not always the thing. Though.
It's
We
not.
got- we got Joe in the mic.
It's not always. It's not always, Joe, but it's the most efficient.
It's a real
It's a
thing. It's
tactic.
a reality.
Is the most efficient. Why? Because it's have gone on for generations and generations. And look at us now. It's because of the results of all past generations. You know, the strong has always survived.
Yes,
And if you're not strong, you're weak. There's
Yes.
always there's
Yes.
black and white.
absolutely.
There's good, there's evil.
Yes.
You know, so
Right.
you got to try to be good. You got to try to be strong. Because if you're not strong, you're weak.
And
Can I,
ay.
can I add something?
Open the
I feel
jar.
like there's a difference between bullying and constructive criticism.
Yes.
When, like, he mentioned, like, when there's bullying, there's accountability. I'm going to add, like, a little story, like, a backstory about myself. Like, in high school, I got bullied because, you know, of my weight. And that made me realize, I'm a little bit overweight. What happens if I drop weight? So I don't feel like bullying can be really damaging to you. I mean, don't get me wrong. It has damaged a lot of people. But I feel like, when he also mentioned about brotherhood, it's not really just bullying because it kind of like you shit on other people because maybe you have insecurities with yourself and you just want to like put that little anger through other people as well. Like, it's a teacher.
What I guess what I'm saying is that there's a world where you go to your boy and you say, yo, you getting a little, them pants fitting you a little tight, homie. Like, when was the last time you went to the gym? As opposed to, bro, like, you clearly been eating hella McDonald's. Look at you. You look fucking crazy. Like, you guys do the most.
Right.
Guys do the most with each other.
Right.
And-
Because we're different. We're different with compared to women.
Yes.
Women do not do that.
No.
Even if one woman likes the other woman, if hypothetically, if you're my girlfriend and you have a girlfriend and you ask me, hey, do you think my friend is overweight?
Mm-hmm.
I would say yes. And then how you would express that to her
Very
would be
different.
completely
Very
different.
different. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, if there's
Absolutely.
two guys talking about a third guy and that guy number one says, hey, your boy's fat. Yeah, he's fat. You want to tell your boy, bro, you're fat. It's straight up.
But that's not how you guys do it, though. You guys josh around and you guys make somebody the center of attention. You guys make it a whole thing. And it's like, I agree that community is important and sacred, but it should be held sacred. If any group, I'm part of a sorority. If the goal of my sorority is to uplift women and to empower them,
Right.
but then I'm sitting here like, bitch, you was looking mad sloppy at the club. You was looking like a hoe.
But
That's
that
not
would never.
constructive.
But that would never happen.
It's happened.
That would never
And it's
happen.
not constructive.
Amongst friends.
Amongst sisters.
Amongst friends, though.
Peers.
Amongst friends.
Gotcha.
I don't know if it's a gotcha. I just know that the camera's still rolling and we on time. I will say this. I think that as a society, softness is more introspection. It's not being soft. It's being introspective. It's recognizing who you are, honoring who you are for better or worse, and moving forward with that information. And that the people who surround you as you go through that journey should be uplifting you and empowering you. They should be honest with you. They shouldn't necessarily sugarcoat. I'm a sugarcoater, so I may sound like a hypocrite, but you don't necessarily need to sugarcoat things, but you can say things respectfully and get your point across.
Right.
That's it.
You know, I will say though, I think there's a big difference between being like soft and being emotional. Sometimes I think people throw the word soft around, but what they really mean is just like you don't have that grit in you. And maybe there's another word that we should be using. Because I think a lot of times when we say you're soft, people think, oh, you're just calling them emotional.
Right.
But I think you could be an emotional human, but still have grit.
Right.
You know?
And then that's another box to open, because men think that they cannot be emotional. Emotions? No, that's a negative. That's a deficit in my life. All emotions do is serve me not. No.
Hold on. I need to know what Javi thinks. Javi, I'm putting you on the spot.
Javi. Ay. Men believe that emotions do not serve them. Men believe that emotions will get them locked up on a murder charge. Men believe that there's no room for emotion, only logic. That is unrealistic.
A man who is not in control of his emotions. I feel like a mature man, because there's an immature man and there's a mature man. A mature man will not allow himself to act off of impulse
And emotion.
right because you can take a moment to like understand what's happening to you, right? And everyone has like that split second on how to decide what they're going to do based off of what happened to them, right? Let's say you're at the gym playing pickup basketball. I'll give you an example. Playing at the gym, pickup basketball, and I get fouled hard. And I call a foul, and the guy says, fuck you, there's no foul. Punch them right in the face. For no reason. I'm not a violent person. I don't really like to fight people, but it happened. After the fact, a couple of days later, I saw the same kid, and I went up to him and I apologized. I said, listen, I acted off of impulse, and I apologize.
But that's not acting out of emotion.
Yes,
Listen,
That's
because
impulse.
No, that was
that's an
emotion.
Emotional impulse.
That's emotion.
Because it's like, what do you mean it's not? It was a clear, blatant. You smacked me in the face, but I was not in control of my emotion. I acted impulsively. If I would have just been like, yo, he tried to stop the ball. It was an accident. Move on from it.
Okay, let me ask you then. A girl breaks your heart, and you go to your room and you cry about it. Are you not being emotional?
Well, it depends.
Is that not emotion?
Men act with those kinds of situations differently. It depends on how we genuinely feel for the woman, right? If you're dating, like some men date women for the wrong reasons, right? It could be selfish reasons, or they want to use her, or whatever the case is. If a man is genuinely in love and genuinely cares for the woman, right? It's okay to cry, because we're human beings. If some men don't want to admit it and they want to go to the gym and work themselves out, you could do that, right? But that's still you having an outlet. That's still your out. Some men don't cry. There are some men who don't cry.
Yeah, I know.
Like no woman could tell me that all men cry. Legitimately, some men don't.
But what I'm saying is that's not healthy.
Listen,
Like having-
if they do it, it should be in private. Because a man will be mature. A man is mature if they control their emotions, okay?
But to control your emotions doesn't mean not to process and feel them.
Well,
It's not suppression.
If you feel the emotion, like my G here would do, he would punch another kid in the face.
Out of feeling emotion.
That's feeling. I'm feeling like I'm gonna punch this guy in the face.
And then you control your emotion. A feeling is not an action.
Right, but an impulse is.
Yes.
Okay, we're talking about impulses and emotions. Emotion is one thing. You have emotions. Every man has
Yes.
emotions.
Right.
Now, if you cannot control your emotions, you're going to act on impulse.
Yes.
And then the impulse is going to be an action. That's how you punch someone in the face in the basketball court. That's how you have school shooters.
Yeah.
But I can get frustrated and not act on my frustration.
Right, and you have control of your emotions.
Right.
Right.
I think we're saying the same thing in different ways because what I keep hearing in my conversations with men is like, nah, yo, I can't be so emotional. Emotion is not an action.
Because you can't show, you should control your emotion. You should not show your emotion. If I am angry and as a result of being angry, you're violent, you should not show that emotion of being angry.
That's not an emotion. The action is not the emotion. The action is a driven force. It is driven by an emotion. But what I'm saying is how many men are sitting down with themselves and thinking through their frustration? How many men are sitting down with themselves and saying, yo, that was kind of out of pocket. Let me think, what triggered that? Are men sitting down with themselves and saying, what made me feel that way so deeply that I couldn't control myself? Or what made me feel that way and I became so avoidant that I suppressed it? Emotion is not necessarily action, because I can get really pissed the fuck off and I can curse somebody out. I could put my hands on them, or I can get really pissed the fuck off and go sit down and be like, yo, what was that all about? What got me so mad? What triggered me so much that I wanted to get physical about a situation? I guess that's my curiosity, is how many men are sitting down with themselves and actually processing the whole situation in front of them?
Not many. And that's where the term of men being emotional and acting on impulse comes in.
Yeah.
And I believe that's what Joe was saying. If you're emotional, you're going to act on impulse. Okay? And you cannot control your emotions.
Yeah.
And if you cannot control your emotions, just like in the spectrum of 0 to 100, that could mean you're soft. And most guys nowadays are soft.
You're right. I hear you.
You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
Because, again, like, I can really, really dislike someone. And if I give into that, I would want to really hurt this guy or kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because I'm a mature person and I'm responsible, I'm not going to act on emotion and act on impulse.
I got the perfect example for this, and it's good that I'm not on camera because this is very real life, and I was almost going to bring it up on the pod. I've had a very real situation within the last week and a half dealing with an individual that would completely take me out of character, and a situation that would completely take me out of character, involving children, and that's all I'm going to say. Yo, the majority of the time, even when you joke around and you mention what happened to people, they'd be like, oh yeah, I'd kill him. I'd be in jail. Like, it's, if I said it to any one of you, your first initial just to even joke about it would be like, yeah, you catch me in jail. And that happened. Yo, you know how, like, mature emotionally I had to be to even be in the same vicinity with this person again? And I was. And even other people around us was like, yo, how could you even? And it's because of that emotional maturity. And I'm a very emotional person. Very emotional. You know, like, y'all know, I'll almost be tearing up just talking about shit sometimes. But I'm mature in being emotional. Like, I'm more logical in dealing with my actions, right? To where, like I said, yo, that was a test. That was a test. And even after that, even just thinking about how you deal about the situation, you know, first you're naturally more emotional. Like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. But then you come and you start being more logical, and you're like, yo, you know what? Let me talk to that person like if they were my son. And you start thinking like, yo, let me maybe reach out to them to try to help them. You try to ask them like, yo, why are you doing this? Like maybe, yo, I'd pay for your therapy. Whereas if you knew the circumstance, no one would ever even think to do that. So I think where a lot of people, they just jump to these conclusions, like that example that you mentioned. And, you know, we all have our moments of it. We all have our... I to this day, well, sometimes a little incident in the car or whatever, you have a little road rage. Oh, I was bugging. I was being emotional. You know? Or like your situation. You were bugging. But then you catch yourself. And I think as we grow and as we're chasing growth and to be a better human, right, overall, I think the more times we either catch ourselves or the more times we stop ourselves from doing it is when we're not being emotional, the quote unquote emotional, because you could feel it and you can, but it's what you do with it.
Absolutely.
You know,
Exactly.
because I think a lot of people put a blanket on things, so we're like, oh, that didn't hurt me, that didn't this,
And
maybe
it's like
you're-
30 years later, it resurfaces
exactly.
in your trauma with your kids because you didn't handle that one situation and reflect on it. I will say, I admire in men the ability to be so action oriented in a positive way. I don't necessarily know if I want to attribute it to being a woman, but a lot of the times I can stay very stuck in my head as opposed to just executing. And something that men do at a really high level is execute. So maybe on another podcast, I would love to get some tips on like how to maximize productivity and execution. Because I think, you know, a lot of our conversation tonight became like a gender-based conversation. But I do think that there's always room to like learn from one another because we both have strengths.
Definitely.
And we have to be able to work through those strengths to continue evolving.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for your
course, it was a
time.
pleasure.
It really was. Thank you. This was really
It was nice
great.
meeting
This
you.
was a great conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully we can talk some more
course.
because I want to pick that brain of yours.
I learned a lot.
Right? Same. Yes. And here's another episode of Therapy Without a Degree, baby.